welcome to another review from Colour with Claire. Today I'm reviewing the book Modern Lettering by Rebecca Cahill Roots, and this is basically a bible for those wanting to start off in this modern calligraphy that you've seen probably on Instagram and Pinterest. It seems to be absolutely everywhere at the moment. This beautiful brush lettering that just looks so smooth and really easy to do, but then you try it and it's really frustrating and really hard. So this actually helps you get started, gives you all the tips that you need, right from word go, right from beginners. And yeah, so it's absolutely chocker full of information about lettering, calligraphy, modern calligraphy. It's a beautifully produced book. It has this gorgeous silver foil to it, and it's this sort of dark turquoise colour. It's also hardback, and all the pages are really glossy and their colour as well. So really good production to start with. Now, as I go through this review, I'm also going to be having a go myself and giving you some top tips and tricks that I've picked up both from the book and, you know, looking online and trying to master this. So we have an introduction from the author here, just talking about this new trend that's obviously quite popular at the moment. I'll just move this whole book into focus so you can see. And this first section is basically all about getting started. So the basic things that you're going to need, you know, different nibs and how they perform, and, you know, different things that you can do. Now, the author uses like a fountain pen type of tool. But there is a section in this book for those who do want to use pens like the Tombow brush or the Sakura Koi, or even these food pens that I've got here. So don't think that it is all about the fountain pen, because it doesn't have to be. This is just obviously what Sarah is used to and what she prefers using. And it's more authentic, obviously, to use ink. So again, this is all about things that you will need and little techniques of how to angle the pen and things like that. So it's really, really comprehensive. It even tells you how to hold the pen and what angle. Tells you left-handers what they how they can produce this kind of lettering. And then we begin with the practice pages, which there are many in this book. So all of the blue lines here were pre-done, and all of the red ones are lines that I did with a Tombow dual brush pen, and the black ones are what I did with the Tombow food pen, or Fude, I'm not sure, it's F-U-D-E. Now here's tip number one. Before you even start, don't jump in at the deep end with Tombow brush pens or Sakura brush pens or anything that's got this really long, thick nib, because it's so hard to control these, particularly when you are brand new to this and you don't yet have that muscle memory that you need. Because doing this, it's sort of like learning to write all over again. You're training your hand to pressurize letters rather than just write them, and pressure is really the golden rule of this kind of writing. So don't jump in at the deep end with these expensive, big, thick brushes. My advice is to get yourself a couple of these food pens. These are made by Tombow. There are two of them. One is a softer brush and one is a harder brush, but if you see, these have very, very tiny and precise brush nibs, so they're much easier to control on the paper, especially for beginners. And I'll just show you quickly the difference between these food brushes. It's not a massive difference, but you can feel the difference. So this one is the soft, yep, and it's basically just a little bit longer, the brushes, and a little bit more flexible, so you can just do these lines a little thicker and just a little easier. Not technical, I'm not sure exactly of the differences, but this is the harder one, and as you go on you can feel that point is much more crisp, and this is probably the one that I would say is best for beginners, because this is the line that the pen makes when you just put it on without any pressure. So that is your base line, that is your narrow line. And this is the line that it makes when you put the pressure on. But because it's quite hard, you can sort of go back to that base line quite easily. Whereas with like a thicker brush, let's say this Tombow, you have to feel it out. What is the thinnest line you can do, and then the thickest line you can do, and then the thinnest line, and it's a lot more for more advanced people, I think. So start off with something that's got a really short brush nib, and you should not go wrong really. Well, you will go wrong. You'll go wrong loads of times, because I've gone wrong loads of times, and it is really frustrating to learn actually. But as I said, it's all about pressure, and the one thing that you need to learn above all is that upstrokes are very thin and downstrokes are very fat, and it is retraining your hand, getting that muscle memory. So that's tip number one. Get yourself a very short brush pen like this. These are quite cheap. Got these two for under a tenner on Amazon, so you're not going to break the bank. Right, so this is the first page of practice. As you can see, this is what the author has put down. So upstrokes thin, downstrokes fat, upstrokes thin, downstrokes fat. Sounds easy, right? Yeah, well, it's definitely a learning curve. As you can see, some of mine are just completely not straight, wobbly, etc, etc. Because I have a very, very unsteady hand. I couldn't draw a straight line with a ruler, to be honest. So this is probably more difficult for me than most, but as you can see, just horrendous really, my tries at this. But this was with the big thick brushes, so I think with the food pens you can see, or the feud pens I'm going to call them, you can see that it's a lot more precise and, you know, not perfect, but just better. And then there are practice pages for every single letter of the alphabet, starting with A. And here is the A page. It shows you where to start with this asterisk, and it shows you which direction to go in as well. And then there are different options, because there's so many different styles. There's no one technique to learn, and you know that's what it has to look like, and that's it. There's so many different styles you can do, and it's about making your own style. And if the lines are wobbly, it doesn't matter, because if you think back to scrolls and things when they used quills and ink, you know, it did have this sort of calligraphy look, but it was so like wobbly, and it was the parchment with the nib, and you know, it looks more authentic. So that's what I'm telling myself anyway. So this is where I started with the A's, as you can see, not great. And I was just going down and doing it in these columns, and it just got better and better as I practiced, which really is the key to this. Practice, practice, practice. You're not going to master this in 5 minutes, honestly. I put an asterisk next to the ones that I was particularly proud of. So we've got a nice A here, nice A here, and a nice large A here, even though it is a bit wobbly. So I'm going to do some with you so that you can see how you're supposed to do this. I'm going to use, it's really hard because one of these is dark blue and one of them's black, and it's all Chinese writing. Let me see. This one is the hard one, and this one is the softer one. So I'm going to try the softer one first. And I'm going to start up here because it's just easier to lean. Make sure you're still in view. Yep. So remember, upstrokes are narrow, downstrokes are fat. Now here comes tip number 2. Go slow, go slow. You know, you see all these hyperlapses on YouTube and these speeded up videos, and you just think, how are they doing that writing? Just like they're writing your shopping list, you know. It's not good to go fast, especially as a beginner. It's sort of like when you learn to drive. I've not got my license, but I have done lessons, and you try and go fast. You know, you're doing 30 miles an hour and it feels like you're crawling along the road, and you think, I should be going faster, I want to get drivers beeping at me, etc, etc. And as my instructor said, speed comes with experience, and that is completely applicable to this process. Speed comes with experience. Go very, very slow until you've built up that muscle memory. So stop digressing, Claire, just get on with it. So we're going to start with this A. Very narrow line. As you go down, it goes into a thicker line, and then as you come up again, we're going into the narrower line. Now you will get these imperfect curves, but you can always add thickness on. You can't take thickness off, so that's good. So we've got quite a narrow line, but not really narrow enough. I think it's the angle I'm at. And then a fat line curling into a thin line. Same again, bit of pressure in the middle and then there. So that's probably one of the worst ones. Let's try this small a. So narrow, fat, narrow, fat, narrow. So I actually write with a natural slant as well, which just doesn't help. Let's try again. Let's go with this one. This is the harder one. So narrow. Oh, I've done it wrong. Okay, you'll do this a lot, believe me. So curve, narrow, fat and narrow. Something like that anyway. As you keep practicing, you will get better. Now I did these earlier on and obviously I was getting better and better as I was going, and now that I've sort of left it for a bit and come back, I've gone back to not really knowing how to do it. But honestly, it is a pressure issue. If you can get that pressure right, that's it. And when I say go slow, I really mean go slow. That's quite nice. So as I say, as you go through, you will get better. Some of these Bs are horrendous. Some of them are really nice. I really like that one. That's a good set. I'm going to asterisk that because that's a nice one. So with the B, we're going to do it's down, so it should be thick. See, I forget the rules all the time. And then around, thick, around, thick, around. Something like that. You are supposed to stay within the guidelines, but they are just guidelines, so we'll try the lowercase. I'm going to do that again. So something like that. It looks a bit more like an F. Some of these letters do look really similar as well to each other. The C I find really hard for some reason. Let's have a go. Narrow, fat, narrow. And then this one is just the same. Yeah. The D, quite like doing a D actually. So we've got thick into thin, then we've got thick and again back into thin. Something like that. As you can see, really wobbly, but as you can see, I was getting used to it when I was practicing earlier. E's are quite tricky because there's lots of different up and downs. So down, down. That's all right. Something like that. So there's a page for every single letter of the alphabet, and there's lots and lots of room for you to practice. Ooh, that's nice. So another trick, if you are using the Tombow pens, is that you can use this thin end to write the letter. So, for example, let me get this paper out. For example, say we wanted to write an L. So you could just do a normal L, normal pressure, and then you can actually add in, you can cheat and you can add in the thick line. So that's a little cheat that you can do there. Let's just do another one quickly. So let's say this A. So as we go down, that's where the thicker line is. And then tapers up into a narrow again. And you can just add to it until it's smooth. And then down is thick, and then up is thin. So you can just mess about with it. I'm doing this really, really quickly for the purposes of this review, but there's lots of different tips and tricks to create this if you're a beginner. So I'm not going to do any more of these because, oh actually let me do a G. I'm sort of getting obsessed with it now. Right, how did I do a G? So, now, hang on, this is the fat one, isn't it? Yeah, let me try this one. So narrow, thick, narrow, thick, narrow. And then thick, thick. Oh, I did that wrong, hang on. There is thick. That's it, something like that. Anyway, you'll practice, you'll get the hang of it. I really like that one. That's a good one as well. And it goes all the way through the alphabet until you get to numbers. So you can also do numbers. And I think this is the section where it's teaching you how to put letters together. So we've got a few different sentences here, a few little phrases that the author's put in for you to practice with. So fittingly today, it's 40 years since Elvis passed away, big Elvis fan, and this first section is writing Elvis's name. So this was obviously chosen because it's got lots of sort of swirls in it and lots of opportunity to do the thick and thin. So if we're going to write Elvis, fat, fat, like that. I'm going out of the guides, I don't care. But really we're supposed to be putting these together, but hey. Let's go with L, V. And then it's all about making these curls as well, and that's how you end up onto the next letter. Something like that. So I did these with the Tombos. And then this is all about changing up the style so you can make it the lettering bounce. It doesn't have to sit on that baseline. And you can do flourishes as well, which makes it look really authentic and old school. And these are just different flourishes that you can practice. Here is some little motifs that you can put with it just to make your lettering really stand out and have some embellishments. This is a help what am I doing wrong section, so this is sort of troubleshooting. The pen snags on the paper when I make upstrokes, that's what happens to me, and that's probably because I'm holding the pen wrong. Hand is hurting, ink is bleeding, all different sort of troubleshooting things that you can go through if you're having problems. My writing is shaky, I can't achieve crisp lines, that is me. This is a really common complaint in my workshops. Don't panic, you are using different muscles in your hand than you would if you were just using a biro, so your control will be hit and miss at first. So try not to get frustrated, very, very difficult because it is really frustrating. And as we go on, we're talking about quills and different things that you can use. So this is where we're going on to using paintbrushes and brush pens like Tombos. So we've got water brushes, and this is all about different inks and coloured papers that you can use and what goes best. It's so comprehensive. It's not just this is how you do it by. It's sort of really in depth about everything. Different types of typography like your sans serif. Then we've got sort of bubble writing and different ways you can style up your letters. This is about putting together phrases like you would see on these big canvases that you have in, you know, in your house or whatever. And this is a section about what projects you can do. So this is a really nice addition, telling you how to make tags, step-by-step, gift bags, personalised maps. These look absolutely beautiful. I've seen a few of these on Instagram. Just making this for a wedding favour, you know, there's some beautiful ideas. Place cards, and it's also personal, you know, so if you are doing a wedding or you're having your own wedding and you want to really put your stamp on everything, this is a great book for ideas as well as techniques. So banners, we've got invitations, we've even got writing on plates. Personalised paper for wrapping. This is a capital letter, so what do they call these? Not a monogram, or is it a monogram? Anyway, capital letter that's made up of all different words, and that's just beautiful. You could frame that and give that as a gift any day of the week. Everybody would love it. So stamps. This is making stamps. I'm not sure how you do it. Oh yeah, she's telling you. So this is exactly how you would make your own stamp, so that you can just go dun, dun, stamp it, and you don't have to spend time doing it after that initial creating. Large lettering for events. Calligraphy and cakes, so things that you can pop into cakes or on top of cakes, just to glam them up a little bit. The big day, so again, more wedding stuff. Menus, invitations, envelopes. What do we have here? See-through script, so writing on glass. And then there are some templates for you to copy and print and cut. Here is a list of all the suppliers that Sarah uses, and then we have her acknowledgements and a bit of a biography there, and we come to the end of the book with an index. So I hope that me doing this review has persuaded you to try and start doing this, because I think it's really nice just to have a bit of a creative pursuit that's different to colouring. Colouring can get a bit tiresome sometimes, even though I absolutely love it, obviously, and I like to change it up a bit. So this is also a really nice skill to have if you know how to do calligraphy with a normal, brush pen that you can get anywhere. You can also do it with a fountain pen. I'll just quickly show you, because I'm aware that this review is really long. This is a really cheap one. It costs £1.49 from the shop. So the initial line that this pen has is that thick. That's our narrow line. So to make a thicker line, we press down, and the tines of the fountain pen open up to let more ink flow out. So it's very, very subtle, that difference, but there are all sorts of different nibs that you can get, as explained in this book. It really is so in-depth about calligraphy, and if you want to learn it, definitely this is the book to have on your shelf. So the things that I have shown you today are the Tombow Feud pens, the Sakura and the Tombow dual brush, which are for more advanced, people that are used to it, and the fountain pen. I'll leave all the links to buy all of these in the description. So this has been a review of this book, and also my tips, which are: take it slow, very, very slow, snail slow. What else was my tips? Thick letters go down, thin letters go up. Take your time with it, and make sure that you use a very small brush pen. Start off with one of those, because you get more control and it's just easier than this big fat thing. Yeah, so I'm dittering on, but anyway, all the links will be in the description. If you've got any questions, just ask, and as I go through and learn and practice a bit more and get a bit better at this, I'll be showing some results on my social media pages, so follow and like me on there, and I'll see you soon on Colour with Claire.